Historically, Australian housing prices over the past 30 years have increased immensely with 7.25% inflation rate per year. Housing has become very difficult to purchase due to these high reserves, lending itself to foreign investment and a distinction between middle class and higher class affordability and supply of property. The aim of our presentation is to explore how 3D printers can be used to overcome these issues mentioned above, such as rising housing prices, lack of housing supply, and evaluate the overall viability of this solution. Lack of supply is a prominent issue contributing to the shortage of housing in Australia, which in turn making it more difficult for first home buyers to enter into the market. With supply of new housing unable to meet the increasing demand of new families and immigrants from overseas, this is causing prices to increase at a higher than normal rate. Australia is seen as very profitable to investors for this reason, attracting a high amount of international investment, often from China. These investors purchasing land and apartment buildings is a significant contributor to the low supply of housing for sale. Due to this low supply, which results in price increases, potential first home buyers are inclined to rent a home as opposed to purchasing, which can be argued to be less of a financial smart decision for the individual's future. Australia as a nation has an overabundance of land available for development, especially throughout rural areas which are more inland. This means that the lack of supply is not a lack of space. However, the issue revolves around town planning constraints as well as overall cost, labour time and materials of building new apartments and houses. Australia's expensive housing market is often claimed to be primarily the result of a shortage of supply due to town planning constraints, leading to political pressure on councils and state governments to remove planning regulations regardless of their planning merits. Solutions. We aim to address this issue of supply through areas of high cost to build structures including labour costs, materials and architectural costs. We also address the issue of time constraints when building houses, apartment blocks, which can currently tie up labour for long periods of time. 3D printing houses will increase the speed of production drastically over that of a traditional brick concrete house. Architectural costs will be dramatically lowered through the standard design house. Labour costs will be almost eliminated except for printing operators and safety inspectors. Cost of overall production further lowered through cheaper materials and larger scale orders. Clients can choose from a set range of designs and have their residency produced within weeks. This can lead to expansion of rural areas for better use of free land in order to match the supply of houses with the current demand in Australia. Prices will then turn become more affordable, breaking down the barriers for the first home buyers. Focusing more towards affordability, for many young Australians and those in lower social classes, it is becoming ever so difficult to enter the housing market. This housing crisis stems from multiple factors surrounding inflation rates, record low interest rates, as well as an increasingly growing gap between lower and higher social classes becoming apparent. Inflation rates have had a significant impact of the cost of living for many Australians, with a jump of 3.8% over the last 12 months from 1.1% in March 2020. The Consumer Price Index is calculated by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, in which illustrates the changes in costs of living. Key drivers of the increased inflation rates are linked to petrol price wars, COVID-19 impacts, and key governmental subsidies. However, it's these drivers that translate into issues of Aussies on lower income earners struggling to keep up with the day-to-day bills and expenses and preventing them from earning enough savings to afford a home. Interest rates are another key issue relating to the housing crisis, which relates to the ease in which Australians are borrowing money from the bank very cheaply. There has been a dramatic change in interest rates from 7.25% in March 2008 down to a record low 0.10% in August 2021. The low interest rates were an attempt from the federal government to stimulate growth in the economy. However, this has resulted in soaring house prices. This is causing issues for the lower income earners, such as young adults and single parents who are forced to rent, especially living week to week as they can't afford houses in key geographical locations near CBDs where employment is more available. The housing crisis is really highlighting the increasing gap between low and high social classes within Australia, where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. This issue is an intergenerational wealth transfer between kids and their parents. As Winston writes, young adults in Australia are turning into their parents as a bank. to fill their deposit gaps required to afford a home in addition to asset security required to secure a mortgage. In comparison, lower income families are left struggling, being classified as unsecured or financial risks by the banks. Solutions to this: consistent, stable house pricing packages available using 3D printing machines. No shortage of labour or delays in construction. Material is instantly available. Efficiency of labour can be run 24/7. Special development land spaces can be dedicated for first-home buyers using 3D machines, with universities and employment opportunities in close proximity. Interest-only mortgage payments for single parents when using 3D house printing. The 3D printing of homes can be environmentally sustainable, no deforestation, no delivery required, less petrol used, no factories required for production. We could incorporate solar paneling for operation to further this idea. Just homing down on the solutions in general, as a whole, our solution to these two systematic issues lies within the advancement of technology. Over the past decade, there have been many technological breakthroughs in the industries such as construction, material creation, and engineering. 3D printing initially was created to construct small to medium-sized products such as gifts, jewelry, and novelty items. As innovations disrupted this product, they began to scale, started printing complex items such as food, large-scale products, and even biological materials such as organs. We're now at the stage of where 3D printers are large enough and quick enough to construct small to medium-sized houses within 24 hours. We do this at a fraction of the cost, though advancements in material and creation can create stronger, more environmentally friendly green houses. Within Australia, affordability of houses has been a major issue, as discussed, impacted due to inflation and interest rates, but our company has created an agreement with multiple banks that will allow for concessions for low-income earners for a reduced interest rate mortgage, along with longer interest-only terms, which will increase affordability. The reason for these partnerships work is due to the lower cost of manufacturing of houses, therefore meaning banks' financial risk is going to be a lot less and are willing to accept the risk. Our 3D printing solutions also addresses the supply shortages of houses, with labour shortage material shortages and architectural design costs. Supply of housing is becoming increasingly scarce relative to our growing population. It can't keep up. Our 3D printers not only have 24-hour production time for a completed house, but it also utilises materials that are artificially created by a research and development team that are stronger and more durable. This material is also vastly cheaper and allows us to pass this cost on to our customers. Overall, we acknowledge the solution as we scale regardless of benefits. The Australian economy, and more specifically the workers within construction, would be heavily impacted and would entail loss of jobs. This at times is necessarily for positive change and will help the microeconomic reforms. These resources will be rerouted to more efficient industries that can help Australia as a whole. 3D printing is the future of our company, and we believe that by utilising this technology, we can bridge the income gap and ensure that house ownership is a realistic goal for all Australians, regardless of income, socio-economic status, or geographical location.